Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our April 15th, 2025 regular council meeting. Councillor Davina McKepp will not be joining us tonight as she's out of town dealing with a family matter. But I would like to welcome our community advisor, Courtney Quinn, who's here with us in the council chambers today. So welcome, Courtney. Nice to have you here in person. We have quite a few items on the agenda today, including our regular business, an audit presentation from BDO, a public hearing for a new conditional use application, two correspondence letters, an admin report, an update on the Housing Accelerator Fund applications, contract award for heating fuel, first reading of fees and charges bylaw, second reading of the animal control bylaw, and finally a decision on two conditional use applications that were introduced at our previous meeting. So lots to cover today. We do have one item to add to the agenda. It's just one letter that I'm going to add to correspondence. So I'm going to add that to just after number 6. It'll be number 7. So does anyone else have any additions or amendments to the agenda? I'm going to add it as number 7.
But
oh, sorry.
just letter.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's a request for donation. I'll get to you.
Okay.
It's Swanson Community Hospital New York Station.
Okay.
So if there are no other amendments, I'll ask for a mover and a second to adopt the agenda as presented, as amended, excuse me. I will move to adopt.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, that motion will pass. So next up, we need to adopt the minutes from the April 1st, 2025 committee of the whole meeting. Maybe we have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes.
Make a motion to adopt the draft minutes.
Thank you. Any comments or questions or business stemming from the minutes? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Call the question. All in favor of adopting the minutes? Okay, thank you. That motion passes as well. Next up is the open payables in the amount of $762,438.65. And we have a mover and a seconder to pay the open payables.
I'll make a motion here. Make a motion to pay the open payables in the amount of $762,438.65.
Thank you. So payables weren't that high, so there was one thing added. One entry in the amount of $609,367.98. So I was just gonna ask the CAO to tell us about that entry for the record, and then we'll put the floor for any further discussion on the payables.
Yes, Your Worship. So that payment is to Acres Industries, and that's the down payments on the 2 new fire trucks, which is part of the tender package that council.
Thank you. So any further discussion on the rest of the payables? I don't really have any, sorry, Billy, did you have any questions? I had a couple questions that aren't necessarily about the cost. I just wasn't sure what they are.
Sure.
63158, which is the SWANA next chapter.
Yeah, so the SWANA is the Solid Waste Association of North America. That's who regulates the landfill licensing type stuff.
Oh, okay.
And so that is a landfill operations course for our new code of conduct one.
And then I was wondering about 63166, which was PMO Global.
Yeah, so PMO council may remember, but I spoke about PMO Global. They're the consultant that is reviewing Tom's emergency plans, and that's our fees for that. Actually, I received the draft emergency plan this morning.
And will you be sharing that?
Once we pass the draft stage.
Okay.
But as council may remember, we are running our ICS and emergency planning the week of May 5th to 8th. Your worship is signed up for that, and Councilor Slater is going to answer me his availability once it gets closer. The ICS training.
Emergency training.
Which is Wednesday,
It's May 15th.
yeah, when we get closer to it, let you know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. The other one was fire truck, and then there was 63182, which was Universe, I don't know.
Yes, so that is the rec center operating software that council approved in the capital budget.
Thank you. So if there are no further questions or discussion, I'll just ask for a motion, or sorry, all in favor of passing the payables.
Just one second, word, please.
Oh, sure.
Why are we using AFD and Petrobras? I think it's in two of there, Petrobras and AFD.
AFD, just bear with me. Let's see, AFD, there might be a North 60. And,
Oh, yeah, North 60 here, it's North 60 per.
yeah, North 60, that's our heating fuel, because, Petro.
Okay.
Petro business.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all.
Okay, so all in favor of passing the payables? Perfect. So that carries. So next up, we have BDO joining us on Zoom to give us a presentation on the audit. So I believe it's Angela. So hello, Angela. The floor is all yours.
Hope you're still muted. Yeah, I'm not sure, Ange. Nothing locked on our end. Just bear with me. Oh, how about now?
Yay, thank you.
Yeah.
There wasn't a chat function, so I couldn't even tell you what was wrong, but I just kept getting a warning saying that the host is not allowing participants to unmute. So we're good now. Thanks so much for having me this evening. My name is Angie Spencer. I'm a partner with BDO, and I'm in charge of the annual external audit that we conduct every year. So I'll just take a minute and go through, there's a couple of items in your packages to review tonight. One is the draft financial statements, which are, subject to your review and approval. And then we also have a byproduct of our audit. I'm required to just communicate to Mayor and Council every year our final kind of overall findings. And if there were any significant findings as a result of our audit, they're included in that final report to Mayor and Council. So I'll maybe start by sharing my screen and we can go through the financial statements. There we go. Okay, so you should be able to see the financial statements up on your screen now. So as I mentioned, we are substantially complete the audit for the December 31st, 2024 fiscal year. Page 2 and 3 outlines the overall audit opinion on the financial statements. So we are proposing to issue what's considered a clean or unqualified audit opinion, which means that the financial statements are considered free of material misstatements, and they're presented in accordance with the public sector accounting standards, which of course every municipality is required to follow. I'm happy to report there were no substantial new changes to the accounting standards this year that would impact any of the disclosures or numbers in the financial statements. So if you do recall last year, asset retirement obligations was a fairly new standard that required, quite a bit of new calculations and disclosures in that. But this year it was more straightforward, which was great. So up on the screen is the statement of financial position. This is a snapshot, if you will, of all of the assets and liabilities of the town of Watson Lake as at December 31st. So you'll see financial assets came in at just over 7 million. That was up from 6 million in the prior year. Some of that was due to a large accounts receivable or grant receivables that came in just after year end. And in addition, there was, some, movement in terms of cash from cash into investments. So earning some more interest there. Liabilities came in at 4.5 million. That was up from 3.7 million in the prior year. The most significant component of liabilities is the asset retirement obligations, which is disclosed in note 5. And a large piece of that would be the landfill remediation costs when that landfill has to be remediated in many, many years' time. So the net financial assets came in at 2.5 million. In terms of non-financial assets, the largest component to that, of course, is tangible capital assets, which is disclosed more in note 6. That came in at 3.4 million. So there was about 3.1 million in new capital additions for the year. There was, some of those substantial upgrades would have included, capital expenditures related to fire protection, some building upgrades, public works upgrades, and those are offset by amortization during the year. I'm on to page 5, which is the statement of operations. So this is moving now towards all the revenue and expenditures for the 12-month period ended December 31st. So total revenues came in at 9.6 million. That was up from 7.9 million in the prior year. And it was, compared to the budgeted amount of 11 million. The largest differences, if you will, in those categories is around grants. Sometimes the timing and commitment of grants depends on when those capital projects are undertaken and grants funds received. So that made up a large piece for 2024. In addition, there was some gas tax that was received in 2024 that was not in 2023. The other areas and categories are fairly consistent overall compared to prior year. Expenditures, similarly, they went up over last year. So 2024's total expenses came in at 7.782 million. That was up from 6.8 million in the prior year. And you can see there's also some increases there around environmental services and general government, and some more details in the notes around segmented disclosures can kind of give a further breakdown of some of these expenditure categories. So total annual surplus, this is revenue less expenditures, came in at 1.8 million for the current year. Which of course is added to the accumulated surplus, which is, effectively the retained earnings or the overall, net surplus of the town since the beginning of time. Page 7 just goes through cash flows. So it ignores all the accounting nuances of accrual accounting, and just looks at what happened from a cash basis. So overall, there was a net decrease in cash of about 1.4 million, and that was largely due to, the acquisition of capital assets during the year of 3.1 million, and some timing differences of when the funds and grant funding related to that was received. So page 8 onwards is the notes to the financial statements. I'm not proposing to go through those in detail. They just outline the specific accounting policies of the town of Watson Lake and provide more detail to the balance sheet and income statement figures that we went through. And as I mentioned, because there wasn't any new accounting standard changes during the year, these should be very similar disclosures that you would have seen in the past as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on the financial statements or on the audit in general.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for that presentation. I don't personally have any questions, but I'll just mention that I did have the opportunity to sit in on the final meeting between the audit team and our finance team here in Watson Lake, as well as the CAO. And the auditors had nothing but rave reviews for the audit process and our finance team. So naturally, that was really great to hear. I know these audits are a lot of work, so appreciate all the efforts by your team and also our staff. So and the working relationship that they've established. So with that, I'll just ask if anyone on council here has questions for With regards to the audit statement, admin?
Angie, can you explain to council that, you know, it was that we had a surplus of $1.8 million last year, but that's not cash in the bank, that's based off of amortization and assets, so can you put that in context for them? Because I don't want the general public feeling that, you know, we've got an extra $1.8 million floating in the bank.
Did you see
because of-
my eyes widen?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's a very good point to raise. Thank you, Cam. So, what's interesting is the financial statements need to be presented in accordance with public sector accounting standards. And what that means is it's not necessarily on a cash in, cash out basis. There are some items that get deferred on the balance sheet, the most notably being there's going to be often a mismatch where you may get funding for grant funding specific to go towards capital projects. So under the accounting standards, that grant funding is recognized as income or a surplus during the year, but the capital asset is actually capitalized on the balance sheet and amortized as an expense over the life of that asset. So there's going to be a timing difference there, showing that, you know, you have a surplus in one year because of the fact that you've got some grant funding to go towards these long-term infrastructure projects that of course get expensed over time, and it's not always an equal match there of revenue and expenditures as they're received.
For clarifying that.
You want everybody to run under one, thinking that we could stop charging taxes and fees because of the fact that we have audits.
Yeah, and I think that's illustrated from looking at the cash flow statement where you actually had a cash, you know, deficit during the year. So outlay of expenditures versus the way the accounting treatment is from the income statement.
Okay. So hearing no further discussion or questions on that, thank you, Angela. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and yeah.
Great.
appreciate
Thank
your-
you very much. And thanks so much to Cam and Johan for all their help. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so we now, will ask for a motion to accept the auditor's report, and a seconder, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Counselor Slager. Second, Counselor Wood, thank you, and all in favor of accepting the auditor's report? Okay, that passes unanimously.
Yeah.
So next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. Admin was in receipt of a conditional use application to allow for a bed and breakfast at 211 Studenberg Boulevard. So may I please have a motion to open a public hearing?
Make a motion to open the public hearing for the additional use application.
Thank you, seconder? I was second. Okay. Billy here. All in favor? Thank you. So notices of the public hearing were posted clearly around town as well as on the town social media. Cutoff times for submission was 4 p.m. on Thursday, last Thursday. And at the time of closing, we received one written submission. And was that for or
It was in favor.
in favor of the conditional use? So I will now open up the floor for verbal submissions from folks here in the room, if anyone wishes to provide one, and for anyone on Zoom that wishes to provide one. And if you, yeah, we only have a couple of people on Zoom, but if you would like to provide a submission for the public hearing, please just raise your hand. Anyone in the gallery here wish to?
So I just want to ask, was this for the duplex or a totally different subject?
This
than the
is
duplex?
totally separate, so this is for a house at 211 Studenberg that has a secondary suite inside their home that they're hoping to use for bed and breakfast use, which is allowed as a conditional use as per our zoning bylaw. No problem. Any thoughts? Whether,
Was there a letter submitted with this one?
Well, if it's,
There was one, your worship, from Sue Red in support.
okay,
Yeah, I wonder if you should get it read. Only want to hear what they said.
oh, just for the. Screen. C.
See,
So we received one written submission as mentioned, so I'll just quickly read that to you. So I'm writing to express my conditional support for the bed and breakfast application for 211 Studeberg Boulevard. I support this as an approved conditional use of country residential property under the Watson Lake bylaws. I feel like, anyway, under the Watson Lake bylaws with the below listed conditions. If this conditional use application is to be approved, it is important to me that the following bylaws be ensured, adhered to and enforced, and the limits be placed as part of the approval. That the owner or operator must live on site. I feel strongly that the owner of the property must also be the operator and may not rent out the property to someone to act as an operator for them. Also that the permit resides with the owner, not with the property, and a new owner would need to apply for a permit in their name. I do not believe this to be a concern with the current owner. On-site parking must be provided as per the bylaws and use must be ensured by the owner. Suitable space for vehicles to turn around on the property and exit the driveway forward should also be ensured to prevent accidents on the roadway due to visibility and unfamiliarity with the area. Vehicles towing trailers, if allowed, must be able to park and turn for safe exit. Given the current layout of this property, I don't see any concerns with on-site parking being made available. Maximum number of rooms permitted by the bylaws is listed as 4 for RC zoning. There needs to be a correlation to the number of primary homeowner rooms and rooms for let. Otherwise, the house becomes a hotel, not a residence with rooms for let. I do not feel that at any time the number of rooms for let should exceed the number of rooms designated for the owner. For example, if the home is a 4-bedroom home, the maximum allowable for let should be 2 rooms. Given the housing shortage in Watson Lake, there is always a concern that longer-term rentals will take over rooms designated as bed and breakfast rooms. Maximum length of stay should be established at something like no more than 2 weeks at the establishment. Country residential properties are specific as they offer larger lots and a quieter way of life with increased privacy for residents. There is always the possibility of these conditional uses affecting the way of life appreciated by residents in this type of zoning by increasing traffic and noise. Every effort should be made to limit detractions to this way of life for residents who pay higher purchase costs and taxes for the privilege of the lifestyle RC zoning provides. On an ongoing basis, consideration should be given to limiting the number of these kinds of conditional uses in one neighborhood. I support this application with the above considerations as I value the quiet lifestyle that country residential living provides and would not like to see this disrupted. These comments are made without prejudice. If you have any questions. So, lots to take in there. We're not going to discuss that tonight. We're just going to accept that as part of the public hearing and then we will discuss it at next meeting. Okay, so we'll just quickly look at Zoom. Anyone on the Zoom call have a submission for the public hearing? Going once, going twice.
What was the
Okay.
question? I'm so sorry, I missed that.
Basically a vote for or against the conditional use. Okay, nothing to add at this time? Okay. Did you want to add anything, Ruth, or?
I'm sorry, I just got into my.
Okay, we're talking about your
Yeah,
property.
did you read my letter, or did I have a letter?
I don't know if you had a letter, you just an application.
you're just joking.
Can I just speak to it, cause it's
Sure.
me? Okay, so, the thing is that it's been a rental for 15 years, it's been all done that way. I'm having quite a bit of company, both family and friends that are coming this summer, so I didn't want to rent it as such, so that I could accommodate them as they come. And I mean, they're not coming for long periods of time, but so then just to cover expenses, then I thought, well, it'd be nice to have a bed and breakfast. I'm planning again this fall to go back into regular rental, but it was just in between, and I never realized that I had to do all of this stuff. So that's the way that all came about.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so if there's no further submissions for the public hearing, I'll now ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, second. Thank you, all in favor? Okay, so that is closed. As mentioned, this application will now move forward to the May 6th. Maybe the whole meeting? Am I right?
You're correct.
Okay, and for further action. Okay, so next on the agenda is some correspondence. Council was in receipt of a letter from Watson Lake Ski Club that I will read to you now. The Watson Lake Ski Club is applying to Lottery's Yukon grant for the following: 24 recovered cast iron pulleys, otherwise known as sheaves, for the upper T-bar, a calibrator for the ski bindings as required by the insurance, trail signage, a sign recognizing Casca territory, and says we would appreciate a letter of support for this application with an April 15th, 2025 deadline, which we'll try and get in. We are very proud of our nonprofit volunteer ski club and appreciate the community support. So that's from the ski club secretary, Jenny, as we all know. So thoughts?
Writing a letter of support doesn't cost us anything to write a letter, a little bit of time.
Yeah, sounds
So
good.
therefore, I'm in favor of supporting them in their endeavors.
Will you?
Make a motion to that effect?
Yeah.
Sure, that was it.
Okay, thank you. In a second, we'll second. Okay, all in favor of providing letter of support? Passes unanimously. Thank you. So next we have another letter that we added just at the top of the meeting. This is a letter from the Watson Lake Community Hospital First Nations Health Program. And so it says to whom may concern, this year the Watson Lake Community Hospital and Liard First Nation are partnering to put together our annual spring carnival that will be taking place May 24th, 2025. We have reached out to the community of Watson for any small businesses to donate prizes or funds to make this event bigger and better each year. That being said, we are reaching out for any donations you are willing to give to the community for this event. It could be small prizes or a cash amount to be able to purchase the materials we need. Watson Lake is a community that thrives on community, so with this event, it will be nice to gather while we are coming out of the long winter months and entering spring. Thank you for your time and thank you for hearing from you. So discussion and or recommendations for
I'd
donation.
love to know that I should be there.
Yeah, it should be.
Oh, sorry.
Because
I thought that was separate from me.
Didn't we donate $500 last year?
Your worship, I do not recall if there was a donation last year.
I think $500 is I'd like to make a motion that we donate $500, which is our maximum that we can from our public relations account. I think that's a good one to go from. There's two of them, right? Like there's one that
There's like community relations.
community relations, and there's the other one. I don't know which account it should come from yet,
Administration can deal with that.
but I would like to donate $500 to make their event happen.
Thank you. Second, Councilor Webb will second that. All in favor of passing that? Cool. That will carry. And just for the record, Councilor Puckett did recuse herself from that vote. Moving along, we have Graham here from Elevator Yukon. Thank you so much for being here. Who's joining us tonight on Zoom to speak to the admin report that's provided to council. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review regarding the Housing Accelerator Fund approval recommendations. So, hi, Graham.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. So I'm here to share with council and the public the application information for the Watson Lake Housing Accelerator Residential Conversion Grant, and then the second intake of the Housing Development Grant Program. So for the background for this, the residential conversion grant was developed by the town of Watson Lake in December of 2024. And the program was launched in February of this year with a call for applicants. So just as a refresh, By mid-February, we had reported that uptake of the program had been low. We were looking to receive 10 applications, or at least applications for 10 units to be built. And we had only had a couple, and there didn't seem to be a lot of people reaching out looking for information. So council decided then to add a second intake of the housing development grant, which had run last fall. So with that, they ran until the beginning of April, and the deadline for applications was April 4th. So in total, there was 8 compliant applications that would account for a total of 10 new dwelling units. Of these 4 applications were for the residential conversion grant, and it would be for 4 units, 2 of which are caretaker suites, 1 mobile home, and 1 single-family dwelling. And for the housing development grant, there was 4 applications accounting for 6 units. So the 6 units becomes there's 2 duplexes, 1 secondary suite, and 1 single-family dwelling. There's also 4 applicants that had applied for the residential conversion grant, but unfortunately did not meet the requirement of the policy, so they could not be accepted. So the results of this are, so of the applicants that did meet the requirements for the residential conversion grant, there's Kenneth Martinson for a single-family dwelling on a residential lot, Sandy Miller and Daniel St. Pierre for a mobile home on a residential lot, Harling Schilling for the addition of a caretaker suite to an industrial lot, and Blair Sunby for addition of a caretaker suite on a commercial lot. And then for the second intake for the housing development grant, there's Sylvain and Danina Piquet for a single-family dwelling on a residential lot, Brooke Peters for a single-family dwelling on a residential lot, Jean Peters duplex on a residential lot, and Carrie Peters also for a duplex on a residential lot.
And just, Graham, for the record, your worship, 2 of those are based on their conditional approval, will be conditional approvals based on the conditional use applications that are before council. Okay, just for the record. If they're not approved at the conditional, if their conditional use isn't approved, then they will not be going ahead with funding.
Sorry, are you done, Graham? Can we start with a couple questions? Are you?
Yeah, I can go over the rejected applications just to provide that information. If that works.
Sounds good, yeah.
Sure. So these applications that were rejected, they were for the residential conversion grant. So there's Randy Carlson. They're looking to put a dwelling unit on an airport zone lot, but they didn't meet the CMHC rules. So they had started their development prior to the start date of when funding was allocated to the town. And then for Daniel Cachado, that one, it was the it's subject to an agreement for sale with the Yukon government, so they currently don't own the property, so it doesn't meet the residential conversion grant requirements. And then Brett Isbister, again, the CMHC rules, development started prior to the policy coming into effect and when the town received the funding. And then lastly, there's Adriana Roman. So again, there was yeah, some of the developments were beforehand, and then they had another essentially the lot is not underutilized, it's already being currently used for residential uses. So there was a few issues with that application. So so the budget for this program was 400,000, and currently, as Cam said, if those conditional uses are go through tonight, that could be a full subscription for that for 10 units for $40,000 each. So yeah, if anyone has any questions.
Okay, awesome. I think Councilor Slager has a question.
No, you pretty much answered it. It was the CMHC rules. I was wondering which CMHC rules were, I guess, broken or not adhere to any answer that you were, talking.
Yeah, your worship, CMHC, when we got the funding, it was very clear that any projects that started before the January 8th were not eligible.
Right. Okay, anyone else have any questions about these recommendations? Okay. Yeah, my question was just around, just where it said start date. I was just gonna ask you to elaborate on that, but you did, in your presentation, so. Nothing further from me. So tonight, as far as action, we're looking for a motion to, basically, oh, sorry, the wording's right on here. We're looking for, one of two
Make a
options.
motion to direct administration to enter into the funding agreements with the applicants listed below.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you, Councilor Wynn. Any comments?
My only comment is, this big families. Some people didn't own their lots, but looks like the Peters family has a lot of lots that are all in everybody's different names, so I guess it applies. If it's,
And then, do you have to live in Watson Lake or?
No,
I guess you said you,
yeah, it's based on ownership of the property.
okay.
no, I guess if they own one, it's good to go, then it's good to go. Just struck me as odd.
Yeah.
So what? I don't know if this is the right place to ask this, but just. So the criteria of this program is that the development permit has to be pulled before the end of 26, right?
Yes.
That's the rule. So if that's done and then the program is essentially over. If the development does not take place, then what? They don't receive the funds,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, so Graham, you can correct me or not, but I can't remember the drop dead date on when their progress claim would have to be in to receive the money before the end of the funding, right? Is it 2027?
I think the end of the I think it is like December 26, 2026, I think is the end of the funding agreement with CMHC. I know that with some of the conversations we've had with them, they've talked about, maybe the potential of, depending on how developments are growing, there might be an option to maybe extend that. But I think just with the uncertainty that's happening right now with the federal government, I think we should just be looking at December 26th, 2026. And for the funding, for people to apply, they have to have actually like undertaken significant developments on their lot. So they have to have done like at least 50% of their development to like apply from the town for those developments. And then to receive that full final, then they have to basically have occupancy and all that. So in the development agreements that we did for the housing development grant, we basically stated that, you need to have your development completed by that date if you want to ensure that you can receive full funding for your development. And then for this round, for the residential conversion grant and the second intake of the housing development grant, the development grants will have the same wording. So we're really trying to encourage people and kind of get people across that finish line by the end of next year. But we hope that there might be some wiggle room, but we can't be certain.
Yeah, your worship, so if somebody comes in and gets a good start at it, but they don't, they can do their first progress drop. But they'll finish it by the December 26th
Yeah.
date, then they don't receive the rest of the money, they just receive what they've completed.
Okay, well, thanks for that, I was just.
Sorry, run that by me again?
So an applicant, if they're doing work on their property and they come in to do a progress claim,
Yeah,
there's actual checklist that we have to go through and check to make sure that they've hit their 50% completion before we pay them any money.
I understand that part, but
And then if they haven't completed by the end of December 2026, under the current rules, then they would not receive the final payout.
wouldn't it, that wasn't my understanding of how this would go. It was basically like, you need your development permit in and the house is on the way. And then I thought that like, once it was on the go, it was on the go and like, because you know, like if you start building, let's say this, the spring of 2026. And you get your walls and your windows in, and you hit your 50%
Yeah.
in October. And you've got all these other trades coming in, and it takes you about, 10 to 12 months to build a house on a quick turnaround. So they're gonna miss out on that last little chunk because of when they started and like our inability to get like information out for a good number of months. I don't think that, like, I think like if you do, you say you're gonna do, and whether you complete it March 2027, I think you should still get the last 25%.
Yeah.
So I guess what we can do, your worship, is go back to CMHC. We have another meeting coming up in May, I believe, Graham.
Yep.
To get clarification on that, just because we're following their rules, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it was such a rushed program, like we're actually ahead of most communities across the country.
Or ask them if we can do it 90%, 10%.
Yeah, well, I guess that was the risk that we were worried about, because we've had one progress claim come in already, and it wasn't even close to 50%, but the people wanted the money.
Gotcha.
So it's really, if it's more that carrot, dangling the carrot thing, because if you give some people a bunch of money early and then they don't complete it, then that money's gone and nobody else can take advantage of it, right? And we're hoping that any unused money, we can hopefully get an extension and spread it out if people aren't gonna fulfill their commitments, right?
Yeah, and thanks for that. I just think, like I agree with what Councillor Steiger is saying, and I think just that goes along with kind of what Graham was mentioning earlier about how once we get towards the end, there might be some room to negotiate for a little bit more time because of somebody like, yeah, is reasonably on track, but we only have so many days in the building season, as far as like outside and stuff. So, I just feel like time flies, but, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, there's gonna be, I think there's gonna be lots of changes in this as it gets closer, right? Cause Ottawa, well, it depends on what happens in the federal election, which is weeks away, right? Because one party said that they don't support the program, so any money we've got committed, at least is committed money. So we don't know what's gonna transpire. And then the other thing is like, if they do the same, maintain the agreements that we have, hopefully we can get extensions so it can be fulfilled instead. So there's a lot of what ifs, but everything with Ottawa right now is up in the air. Like we can't get firm answers and stuff right now.
Not just because I know a couple people that were scheduled to build this spring lost their contractor and gonna have to push it back to starting 2026 and in the spring of 2026, and like they might get it done in 8 months, but yeah, you know what I mean? But I mean,
Well, yeah, because at my house, we started construction in the beginning of July and we were into Christmas, so it just depends on contractors, right?
it has
So,
And this is to support
housing,
housing, but rental units too, like.
it's
any house.
any housing,
Any housing, but not short term, like not
Airbnb.
Airbnbs or Airbnbs, so this is for like rental or to. Oh, I guess, but yeah, it's housing stock. Long term, yeah.
Well, I like the idea, I don't like the idea of supporting somebody that's gonna be renting out units and using that money for. That's just one opinion.
Yeah, your worship, when we went through it, it was because of the fact that there was no rental in town. We had all these employers and people that were looking for housing, so rentals were a way to do that because a lot of people can't afford to buy their own house. So they needed to rent a place, so by freeing up money so the rental spaces could be built, then that would help alleviate that glut of rent.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor, so I will just call the question, if there's no further discussion. All in favor of recommendation number 1, which was to direct administration to enter into funding agreements with the applicants that were listed earlier. Okay, any opposed? You in favor?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's your hand. Okay, so that passes. Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you so much again, Graham, for taking the time and going through that report with us. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You can go back to bed now, it's 3:45.
It is a bit early, but yeah, thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank
All right, have a good evening.
Okay, so thanks everyone. Next on the agenda, we have the contract award for the supply and delivery of heating fuel, which was RFT 2025-01. So we do have an admin report, which I will read to you for the record. There was also the RFT and the sole bid that we received, included in the package as well. So RFT 2025-02, I think I said 01. Anyway, whatever. So the purpose of this admin report is to provide council with a contract award recommendation for the supply and delivery of heating fuel to town facilities and employee homes. The financial implications are that North 60 Petro has offered a variable rate at 1.1328 based on rack rates as of April 8th. Over the past 12 months, North 60 rates have been between 1.2224 and 1.3904. Rack rate changes are emailed to our office 15 days prior to the effective change. So a little background is that the town of Watson Lake published a request for tender for the supply and delivery of heating fuel to town facilities and employee homes. The RFT was sent by email to all Watson Lake and Lower Coast diesel fuel suppliers who offer delivery service and was published on the town website. Upon closing, one bid was received from North 60 Petro. North 60 Petro has held the town's heating fuel contract for several years. There have been no issues with service or delivery schedules over the past 24 months, and communication and customer service has always been great at both the Watson Lake office and main office in Whitehorse. So there is one recommendation, and that is to accept the bid submission from North 60 Petro. So hoping to get a, I mean, if anyone has any discussion on that, go for it. Otherwise, hoping to get a motion or a mover and a seconder to accept the bid.
I'd like a motion to accept the bid from North 60.
Okay, second, Councilor Puckett. Any question, discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? That passes unanimously. Perfect. So next up, moving right through this. Next up, we have the first reading of the fees and charges amendment bylaw, which is 2025-04. And again, we have an admin report, which I might hold off. You guys want me to read this right now? Or, okay, so let me just say this first. So we have this agenda, we have this on the agenda for the COW meeting on April 1st. And we tabled this to, sorry, I lost my spot, but we tabled it to this meeting. Admin has provided us with a report outlining all of the proposed changes, which is the report that I'm referring to. That's 3 pages. Hopefully you've had a chance to review it. Admin has applied the recommendation to the draft amended bylaw and the appendix, and you'll see those changes in the folder, and the changes are highlighted in yellow. We are looking to pass first reading tonight to allow the draft bylaw to go to the public, and then we'll have this on the agenda for the May 6th committee of the whole meeting for a more wholesome discussion. All right. Time makes sense. So if everyone is agreeable to that, may I please have a mover and a second to pass the first reading of the fees and charges bylaw? Sorry, fees and charges amendment bylaw. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Puckett. Thank you, Councilor Slager. And any questions, comments, discussion right now? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Passing first reading. Perfect. Thank you. So next we have the second reading of the animal control bylaw, which is 2024-011. Requested amendments from the last meeting have been entered into the draft. And so we're looking for a second reading tonight, and then we'll discuss this meeting again at May 6th committee of the whole meeting. Yes. At length. I'm just kidding. Okay, so that being said, may I have a mover and a seconder to, pass second reading of this bylaw?
I'll make a motion to pass second reading of the animal control bylaw 2024-011.
Thank you, and second,
I will second.
Keith. Councilor Puckett, and all in favor of passing this second reading. Perfect, that motion will carry, and we will discuss it again on May 6th.
The only thing that I'd like to see, or, and it's gonna make a big wish, is that something somehow we incorporate like 2 mile or, you know what I mean?
Sorry, in the animal control?
Yeah,
Oh,
like. It's I don't know how we do it, but like, how do we? Cause I hear, we get requests for aid, and sometimes we can help out, and sometimes we can't, you know, with boundaries and stuff like that, but like. I just think, you know. This is not bad, but like. There's just that gray area where. In 2 mile, which is well within our town boundaries, we get calls all the time. And we're unable to assist them because it's not our area,
mhm.
and we've been asked to stay out of that area. But the people that live there don't know that, and there's like.
But,
Yeah, we talked about this. Well, the same issue, it should be a part of our topic.
And if we're redoing the bylaw, then we should just make it like,
so is that the case, sorry, just that we've been asked to
Yes.
stay out?
We've been asked that they don't want to abide by the bylaws because it's on federal land, even though it's in our municipal boundaries. They've been attempting to hire their own animal control officer for 2 years for sure now. And, but I can tell council that the territorial animal control officer has been dealing with 2 mile and their dog issues and stuff. And in this bylaw, we talk about where our protective services staff can be appointed under the territorial act, which will give that authority if the animal, if the territorial officer wants us to deal with it, then we will be able to deal with it.
okay. I'm happy with that.
Well, you look at people driving up and down the highway and dogs coming out of their chasing and somebody gets bitten.
If they're on the highway, that's, yeah, then it's,
You know what I mean?
then, yeah, no, we totally get it,
But
but
you're
it's,
on the highway, you know that. Yeah. Still, you guys working on a date, hopefully shortly, to try and sit down with chief and council. Just have a meet and greet, but this would be a good topic to bring up for them.
I mean, it was a topic of discussion on Mayor's and Chiefs Forum, couple, geez, was that months ago now?
Yeah.
Gee whiz, time flies. Anyway, lots of other municipalities and First Nation, working together on that, everywhere else.
Yeah, no,
So, like, it's a
I
partnership thing,
agree.
but yeah.
It sounds good, it's just a matter of timing, trying to get them together and get us together, but they were talking about this month, and I'm gonna push them again. This week, I'll see if I can sit down with them,
Mhm.
see if we can, even at 2 o'clock, go to London, bring it down a little bit quiet or something. Something
Yes.
simple, just a meet and greet type of thing, maybe bring up a few things and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but it'd be a step in the right direction there.
For sure, keep us posted.
Well,
Just going back to what you were just saying, that information, can that be reflected in there somehow? I mean, maybe not, those words, but it just seems like there's that information, I feel like, you know, this bylaw, I wouldn't know.
well, we would
So-
take our direction from the territorial, that too.
Oh, and I bet it's that extra line.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway,
And the Irish First Nation's been dealing with the territorial vet and the territorial animal control officers, and they've got a good working relationship. So if it's working, I don't want,
yeah,
throw gas on the fire, it's not.
For sure.
Right, for sure.
okay. So we'll just move on then. Thank you, everybody, for those, excuse me, comments. Next on the agenda, we have 2 conditional use applications. Is it okay if I combine these?
Truthfully, we should do them separate.
We should do them separately,
Because they're
okay.
two separate applications, two separate.
So we can have one discussion, but we can have, we'll need two motions. With that. Okay, so two conditional use applications to allow for duplexes in a country residential zone. The addresses are 207 Studeberg Boulevard and 205 Pine Way, which are both in the Bellevue subdivision. We were in receipt of two conditional use applications to allow for these duplexes. We had a public hearing on April 1st. We received, I think, 3 submissions against and 1 verbal submission against. Correct? And that was it. So, I would now like to open the floor to council for any discussion around this. And then ideally we would get a decision motion tonight for each of these applications. Who would like to start the discussion?
Sure. Just noticing the very, which one we're looking at here. It's the 207 Studeberg I'm looking at. And in the building permit, it says the building duplex. You scroll down, it says duplex on a full basement. You scroll down further, and then it says construct a duplex slab on grade. So I'm not,
But there were just the
slab on
other,
grade was like you're going, slab on grade was like slab on the ground, you go 2 stories up, not a basement and 1 up. Or someone correct me.
I think you're right, but I just thought, look at the other application, maybe they're just. Cause there's 2 sheets, right?
Oh, maybe it got mixed up.
Well, I don't know, cause I thought I saw thing on full basement, and maybe I was looking at the development permit too.
Yeah, because that's that form, that form has the identical form, it's duplicate pages.
I'm going to duplex. Not the duplex slab on grade.
Yeah, council, your worship, that page was supposed to be scanned in the second one.
Okay, cause I was like, how do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a new text.
it's actually missing in the second application.
Okay, sorry, that answers my question.
Okay, so, sorry, no comments for or against, or?
Maybe, my comment towards this is I'm actually for it, we need this council, this previous councils that I've sat on. My main drive has been, we need places to live so people can come here and make our community grow and thrive. And, politics aside, every house that gets built is a win. So any place that is somewhere to live, I'm all for it. Okay.
No, I'm not good at this, but it's been kind of brought to my attention, what's it gonna do for property values? Is it gonna increase people's property values in that area? Is it gonna decrease their value?
It doesn't
How
affect,
does that look like?
it affects your own property. So it doesn't have any effect on the neighbors.
No, it's by, yeah, it's assessed.
Assessed value of your property and the improvements on your property. It doesn't have any,
Okay, I'm
like,
just trying to-
yes.
It's not that much because I can tell you when I built my house.
Yeah.
If it was like all the other trailers were bringing my property down, it did not happen like that at all. So,
And yeah, and your worship, Councillor, in that example, Councillor Slager's house in that subdivision didn't bring the property about the values of the other trailers higher.
yeah, it didn't. So nothing's happened. There was all,
Yeah,
I can tell you because, well, the grass comes.
I have a little note I'd like to add, and that's just kind of exactly to Councilor Slager's point. But I'll start by just saying that I appreciate the feedback that we received. And I understand the desire to maintain the character of the neighborhood. However, we are facing a housing challenge, both locally and nationally. And our council has been actively working to address this issue by encouraging and incentivizing developments, specifically when it comes to densification of housing. I And especially with the lack of available lots. So the proposed duplexes do align with our goals to provide more housing options and are actually allowed as per the zoning bylaw.
Yes, that's correct, Your Worship. The only zone in town that doesn't allow for duplexes is the
Residential mobile.
mobile home zone. And council did do, previous council had did zoning amendment for duplexes on Francis Avenue on those lots.
Right, sorry, I just, I don't have it in front of me, but there also was a suggestion. There was actually. Oh yeah, there was 3 submissions, but one actually had some recommendations about maybe like fencing or things like that, and I'm not speaking for or against that, I'm just wondering if anybody thought about that, about any conditions that maybe would apply.
If you're there and you don't like it, build your fence.
Okay,
Other than that, like, I don't think that we should be playing God in people's properties. I mean, like, this property, you shall do this, it has to be across the board, right? So if it's your property. I feel like you should be the one with the call.
And Your Worship, that was discussed during the zoning bylaw amendments, remember Councillor Paquette brought forward.
yeah, I do remember that discussion actually.
Yeah.
Mhm, okay.
She wanted X number of feet of no clearing
Yeah.
lots, and so then you'd end up with massive buffers in between.
Yeah.
But then it's really putting controls on how much you want your property, right?
Mhm. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, anything to add?
No.
Do you agree? Or disagree? Okay. Okay, perfect. So,
What were the submissions that were for and against? Was there letters sent in or?
yes.
That was at your last council meeting, and those letters were brought forward.
I'll read them to you, but I can't find them right this second. Okay, so as mentioned, I guess I'm looking for a motion for or against, and I need 2 separate motions.
I'll make a motion in favor of the conditional use application to allow duplex dwelling on 207 Studeberg Boulevard, as well as 205 Pine Lane.
I need, oh, does that work for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Second by Councilor Puckett. And if there's no further discussion, I'll call a question, all in favor? Any opposed?
Yeah, I just said it.
So you are opposed? You want that recorded? Okay. Okay, so that will pass. And let the record show that Councilor Wood was opposed. Thank you. So next up, I think that's, are we at the end? Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have Councilor Open Forum. I have a couple of things, but I think everyone else can go first, I'll go last. What's a flavor?
Can we remind people to, where anybody affected by the dump truck whole situation, what are we doing, bringing receipts to the town for reimbursement again, or like going through their insurance first, yes?
Yes.
But then, what do we, we're on
For,
the hook for that, eh?
well, I'm uninsured, we're still dealing with our insurance company to get details on all of that, and I haven't got answers yet. That's it.
Anything else?
I was curious, the HAP program, if an applicant would, had owed money to the town or, are they still eligible to?
They're not, on the application, it states that they must be in good standing on their.
I mean, like if it was like taxes or.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Whatever, for any reason.
Yeah.
Only town.
yeah, that was very clear in their applications.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Councilor Irwin? Perfect, so, I just had a couple of things, couple questions, couple of comments. First, I was just going to mention, actually, somebody mentioned it earlier and reminded me, council has, council training and strategic planning session, booked for June. Whoa, June 28th, 29th, 2025. That was the earliest that we could secure our, consultant for that, so, that will be taking place. Where we'll create our, I guess, 3.5 year plan now, going forward for council. I will start with my questions. I saw that Fire Smarting has started in town, or what are they doing with burning brush behind that?
Yes, so fire smarting's been going since January. And we're finally over on the last block for this spring season behind the hospital.
Okay, because I know surgeons are working there, so that's good, so that's wrapping up then.
Yes, and then we have more that'll roll out, later in the year.
And then my next question was, I know it's not yet because obviously it's still like snowy and muddy and stuff out, but I was wondering when the community garbage cleanup segments usually happen, when does that usually go out?
So there's discussions about that, and we will, based on the way the weather's going, the free downloads will start on the 15th of May, somewhere in there. Just gotta look to see when the Monday is. We'd be starting the Tuesday, which would be the 13th of May.
And that'll go,
No, sorry, the 20th.
and that's for a month?
No, we're going to go 6 weeks this year.
Oh, okay,
End of June.
okay, cool.
So the 20th of May will be, or the 21st, whatever the Tuesday is, and the 20th, and for till the end of June. And one, same as before, one truckload per residence. And we're also working community wildfire protection barbecues on May 3rd. And we're also working and advertising it through then and offering free shipping of yard debris. We're gonna have the sticker set up and well, May 3rd. It's on 12 to 2. And they're gonna do, the fire crews are gonna do chipping. And the chipped waste will go to landfill for cover material. The 3rd is a busy day, that's also the community garage sale on, and also household hazardous waste
Good.
at the landfill. So
Which day?
May 3rd.
Can we throw that up on Facebook, because
It is.
everyone
It's
like to just like repost it, because everyone misses it all the time.
Yeah, we're flogging it, and then also it'll be September 13th, Patrick, am I right? September 13th was the second household hazardous waste day for the year. So we're really flogging it because of the fact that people do forget, and then and if it's not advertised the way it should, then we don't have the buy-in, so sooner we can get it up there, the better.
So I guess, specifically though, I was talking about those fundraising segments that you
Oh,
give out to the nonprofits and whatnot.
yeah, so that's Shannon is back to work next week, and then those supposed to be going over for the community.
I just had a little idea because I feel like sometimes we have good uptake and sometimes we don't have any. And I just thought it would be fun to maybe like challenge another organization. And just to like see who can pick up the most trash or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know who or what, like, I don't know if it's like the grads or who we challenge, but just like, what's that? Oh my gosh. We have to find some counselors.
There's actually some, I've seen in other communities, they do the challenge,
Yeah.
and then the organization actually wins like a bowling night or a bowling and pizza night or
Well,
a pool rental.
I was thinking like, you know, obviously the little friendly competition that also results in sort of town beautification, but, and I thought maybe like whatever money we set aside for like the nonprofit, we could just like donate it to charity or something, you know.
I guess council will have to get out there before John Skelton gets.
I know, I'm getting him on my team actually.
He was down as far as Bluestone on Saturday.
Yeah, love him.
He's doing crap on me the other morning down here, you come out the kitchen,
Yeah,
what can you say?
I do have a couple more questions, hopefully really quick. Any updates on the CHIP funding? Probably not, nothing, crickets. Any updates on the VIC opening? How's that going?
May first, it's a mess,
Okay,
to be an understatement. Everything's been moved from the rec center over to the visitor center, or over to the Northern Lights Center. And, they're trying to stage where everything is. I was there today. The bathrooms are full of pamphlets. So, but they're down to really just over a 2-week window to be ready to go. So they're working, and then to throw a twist to it, where they've got to move some stuff around, is the fact that we're hosting the student exchange group this
Oh,
weekend.
yeah.
And part of that trip, and visitors center has known, is that, we're providing movies one night, so.
Oh dear,
they-
that's, you know what, I saw the itinerary and that's only if the weather's bad, so.
Well, no, the one night was good. The second night that might go there is if the weather is bad.
And when do we, the town, open for tourists?
We will be, we're staffing up now. Advertisement's been out. We've got our applications in. Shannon will be doing her staffing next week when she's back, with the intent to be running the same time period as visitor center. So it would be May 1st till the end of September. Yeah, and with, the nice part is with the visitor center being in there, we're doing a sort of a joint staffing. So we don't have to have double staff all the time. So, yeah.
My next question was actually addressed in Sue's submission to the public hearing.
Yeah.
But my question was, if conditional use for a B&B is approved under, for a secondary suite in someone's primary residence, does the conditional use for the B&B go with the property in perpetuity, or even if the property changes ownership, or would the new owners have to apply if they want to use it for the same purpose, and is that covered in the bylaw anymore?
It is not covered, and it's something we've never come across.
Yeah,
So we would have to, something we'll have to look into.
I just feel like it's probably something worth looking into, because especially with the increase in applications for those types of conditional use, it's gonna be an issue someday.
Does it have to be a bylaw, or could you just state?
Sorry, yeah.
Just state on the application or the paperwork,
Well, it's-
non-transfer?
Well, the conditional use portion is within the zoning bylaw, so it almost has to be like a.
It's-
Well, not me having to open up.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it, because right now it's a conditional use in the zoning bylaw, so that goes with the property, not with the owner.
So that will be,
Yeah,
And I think like there's a couple things in there too, like where like traffic is mentioned, whether or not it's person A that's renting that place or person B that's renting that place, it's just a different car. Like it's not increasing the traffic, it's the same amount of traffic.
not necessarily, you could have two people with two vehicles.
Or-
Right?
So you get one extra car that goes on the street.
Anyway, as part of the housing accelerator fund, process, where they were gonna look at the zoning bylaws, is it something that could be looked at while they're in there?
yeah, yes, there's still some of that review going on, so I can bring that forward.
Just,
Yes, to see what legalities are there,
yeah,
because any zoning amendments are registered with you, right?
right. Okay, thanks, I
And
just.
they get registered with land titles as well,
Mhm.
so it's more complex than just putting it on, I don't know. Cause it goes on the title for that property.
I know, but I just kind of like agree, and I'm not to get into this like in super detail tonight, but like I just kind of agree that, you know, if we approve it right now for one person, like who knows what comes after?
Well, the next owner might not even want to have a bed and breakfast.
Well, I know, but how do you know that?
Well, you don't, right?
So,
Yeah. Anyways, we can.
Anyway.
take that up with legal.
okay, so that's whatever, that's it for questions. I wanted to mention to council that I was, in receipt of an official report from council on the, FCM meetings that I attended in Dorval, in March, which I will be emailing it to you in about 5 minutes. And so check your email if you're interested in that. And just for those in the room and those on the Zoom call, just to note that next weekend, myself and fellow counselors, along with CAO Lockwood, will be traveling to Hayes Junction to attend the Association of Yukon Communities 50th Annual Conference and Annual General Meeting. This event happens every year and it's a weekend full of professional development and networking with fellow Yukon leaders. The event ends with the AGM taking place on Sunday, and that's where the resolutions, discussion, and debate will take place. As I mentioned, it's our 50th anniversary year, so we will be doing some celebrating, and we're expecting a great turnout of attendees, so I'm certainly looking forward to it, and I just wanted to mention that. And that's all for me.
I got one quick question. What's the plans for the damage that was done to the streets over there when they were doing Francis Avenue?
Yeah, that's part of when the chip seal comes in to be done, they're gonna fix up those sections of the road.
That's this year.
Yes, they were trying to bring in, Highways and Public Works crew, but the only dates that they were available to come was the mid part of May when the roads are still soft.
Yeah.
So, it's going out for tender, in the next few weeks. There is private companies that are interested in doing that work.
Awesome. Okay, if there's something further for open forum, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'm in motion to adjourn.
Thank you, second, all in favor? Thank you, and thanks again for everybody coming out.